Tango Tango Papa 2121, September 2nd, 2022.
Have we seen the actual reality of a monstrous crime? Or merely an illusion, the product of a tortured brain?
That was loud. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tom Wiles here. We're coming to you from home. So I'm recording this in video, and it's, if you're torturing yourself watching this, kudos to you. Because it seems like every time I do this, it's, with a video setup about once a month, everything changes. Now, of course, in this case, there was a new part of it is new software. So this OBS Studio, there was a new version. I probably, said, do you want to upgrade? Yeah, I guess so. So I don't know. Things kind of change around a little bit. The interface doesn't really change, but then the problem is I seem to keep having trouble with volume levels changing and, so on and so forth. So it's kind of I guess if I was using this all the time, like day in and day out, it'd be a different story. But I kind of, in between, I kind of remember how to make it work. And then you think, well, you shut it down, you start it back up. A month later, it should be the same, but it's not necessarily. So, anyhow, I have been home for the past several days. I got home at around 2:15 a.m., something like that, on Monday morning. And so after that, I did sleep a little bit. Of course, I had kind of messed my hours up with the load that I had. I picked a load up. The load that got me home, basically, I picked it up in Fort Morgan, Colorado, kind of late in the evening. And I slept that day. I knew that it was going to pick up late. And so I drove all night to get to, or a good chunk of the night. I stopped, I guess it was near McPherson, Kansas, and it was like 4:30 in the morning or whatever. And so then I took a 10-hour break there and got going again in the afternoon. The load that I had delivered to Carthage, Missouri. And so there was no empty trailer at Carthage, of course. And so then they said, okay, it's okay to bobtail home. So that's what I did. So I got home, like I said, about 2:15 in the afternoon, or in the evening, or morning, actually. So it was in the middle of the night. And got to bed. I guess I did go to bed. It was around 4 o'clock or something. And then I got up because I kind of knew what I was going to be doing. New vehicle bug has been biting at me for probably the last month. And so I guess it was about 9 o'clock or so, I made a trip up to a car dealership, McClarty Daniel. It's like a Ram truck dealer. And then, of course, they've got the Chrysler, a bunch of different Chrysler products up in Bentonville. Now, the reason that I chose them was because I like their website. They have McClarty Daniel is a big dealership, and so they've got actually multiple dealerships with multiple brands. So I think they're selling Chevrolets at some of the dealerships, this GM products, and then they're selling Ford products somewhere else, and so on and so forth. So overall, I think whoever McClarty Daniel is a business organization, they own multiple dealerships. But in any case, I went to the one to the Ram, the truck dealers, where they're selling Ram trucks and in Bentonville. I liked their website. I liked the way it worked, the way you could browse the inventory, and they're kind of really giving you all kinds of information, and they seem to be very transparent. So I made a trip up there. So I got there probably, I don't know, it might have been 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and several hours later, I emerged. I traded off my old 98 F-150, traded it off for a 2022 Ram 1500, and so I posted pictures of it on Facebook not long after I got it. So if you're watching the video, there's the one picture of it, and then there's the kind of more from the front. So I'm very happy with it. That was probably the best new car buying experience that I've ever had. It was really, it always takes some period of time to buy a new vehicle. It's always kind of a slow process. But they didn't pressure me at all. They basically gave me, they approached me, and they kind of, I guess they see I'm kind of easygoing, and I'm not, I don't know if that figured into it a whole lot. But they sort of approached me, this is our best price, and of course I knew they weren't going to give me much for the trade-in, because let's say, it's a 98 F-150. The thing is ancient, with 147,000 miles on it, so it's low mileage, considering it's a 98, because if you find many 98s now, if they're still around, they're probably going to have 200,000-300,000 miles on them, and I could probably have kept that and kept going with it. But to be perfectly honest, I kind of got bored with it, and what do you do? So, and the other little justification that I've kind of done in my mind is the fact that, with this crazy inflation that we have, does it really make any sense to try to, you got money saved, does it make any sense to hang on to it? Because it's losing value. The prices of things, are going up. So does it make any sense to hang on to that stuff, or hang on to the money, and the value kind of shrinks? So I thought, that was kind of that is a rationalization. Let's admit it. But at the same time, it's my money, and I've basically got it saved. So do I want to spend it or not? Am I saving it for someone else? Not really. So I might as well. It's my money. I might as well spend it. So that's what I did. So now I've got that, and I'm very happy with it. It was a very, like I said, that was the easiest, least pressure-laden new vehicle buying experience I've ever had. Because the guy, normally you go through like three different people. You got the initial salesman, and then you got somebody that's selling you, the accessories, and then you've got somebody that's selling you on the financing. And in this case, I had the initial salesman, and then he went and talked to the finance people. And now, of course, I've got a really good credit rating. And it hasn't been that long since because I remember a few years ago I financed the car. I ended up paying it off early. And so I did go ahead and finance it because the price was actually a little bit cheaper if I would go ahead and finance it. because they give, because of rebates and what have you, which Chrysler is actually doing. You wouldn't believe it, because a lot of dealers are, they're making you pay MSRP plus. Well, not if you go to the right Chrysler Corporation dealer, like this McClarty Daniel up there in Bentonville, Arkansas. I did not pay MSRP, and I've got several $1,000s knocked off, for various Chrysler, so-called incentive, things. So I ended up paying. Well, I did go ahead and get an extended warranty. That was $4,300, but otherwise, I ended up the end of the day, I ended up walking away, like spending $48,000, including the little bit that I got for the trade-in for the old vehicle. So I was pretty happy with that, because I was prepared to pay more. I wanted, kind of mid 40-ish. Is what I was expecting to pay, and so 48. But I did go ahead and get the extended warranty that pushes out the manufacturer, beyond the manufacturer's warranty, which is already pretty good. But with this stuff, being so complicated, and with all the computers and what have you, it's a really good idea to probably go ahead and take advantage of the extended warranties. So, but anyway, I had the initial salesman, and he kind of dealt with the finance, so I didn't really deal directly with the finance people. Now, this other guy that, I guess his job was to maybe sell me on options. He was the one that sold me on the extended warranty, which I already knew that I was going to do. And then he said, I'm just going to skip all this other stuff, because a lot of dealerships will try to get you to, you need this and all these dealer added options. And they didn't really do that. So that, I was really happy about that. And so it was about 2:00 in the afternoon, I guess. I was there for probably about 4 hours. It was a lengthy kind of a wait, but because they, kind of kept coming and going, and they, sort of left me sitting there for long periods of time while they were talking or whatever. But, and it wasn't like, I got to go talk to my, because that's a ploy that a salesman, I have to go talk to my sales manager to see if he'll allow this or whatever. And they're, in the meantime, they go out and have a cup of coffee or something. And that wasn't actually happening. So it was just a lengthy process, and it usually is, because there's lots of paperwork that has to be generated and signed and what have you. So now in the meantime, my existing pickup, when I got home, I knew what I was going to be doing later in the morning. So I got home, and the first thing I tried to do, I've got a safe, and so the first thing I tried to do was find the title for the 98 F-150. So I have this safe, and you can't really see it. The image that I'm showing now, the safe's actually over here, hidden in the kind of the corner of the room next to this desk right here. So it's kind of, the view is sort of blocked, the thing, but it's this safe that I bought, I don't know, years ago. I bought it at like Office Depot. And the thing is like super heavy, and it's supposed to be like fire resistant, so normally I put in everything that I think is valuable, that and if God forbid the house burned down, then hopefully that would remain intact, whatever's in the safe, because it is insulated and it's super heavy. So, but it's about the size of a portable refrigerator, or a small refrigerator, So anyway, I opened the safe up, and I looked through the stuff that I had, because that's normally where I would put the, things like titles. I found titles to everything else that I own except for the 98 F-150. And I looked high and low. I went through it twice. It's not there. So I don't know. I have no idea what I did with the titles for that. So, and you can apply it to the state. Like in my case, I'm in Arkansas. You can apply to the state of Arkansas for a title recovery, and so it takes about 3 weeks. That you can't really speed the process up, so it takes 3 weeks. So I told the dealer, when I went in there initially, I told him, the salesperson right off the bat, I've got a problem with this. I cannot find the title. I looked high and low, and it's just not there. No problem. We have a person that, so apparently this is a common problem that people have. We've got this person that his or her job is to, like, once a week go down to, like to one of the Arkansas revenue offices and apply for titles. And so that's basically what they did. I think I had to pay like a $40 fee for that, but it was worth it because I couldn't find it. And I wasn't, I could have tried to find, apply for the title myself, but then the problem would have been it would be 3 weeks. So, and it's just, so fortunately, they were able to handle that. So, no problem. So that was fantastic because that got rid of the problem. And now I could have probably kept the truck and got the title, the old one, and tried to sell it directly. I'm sure I could sell it, but and made more money than what they gave on trade-in. But I don't have time for that. Number one, number two. That's how people hoard things like that. They get a new vehicle, and so you and it's kind of shocking as as I drive my truck around at work. I'm always noticing. I just can't help myself. If I'm around people, I'm kind of watching people, but if I'm around, if I'm driving down the road, I have a tendency, I'm watching the traffic, but I'm also watching houses as I go by, where people live and what's parked there. And it's fairly shocking. A good percentage of the time, you have people that have just a ton. It's like they got their own private junkyard where I parked there. Hey, here's my old vehicle. It still runs. I'm going to park it, and then they never start it up for 20 years. In the meantime, it's full of rats and mice or whatever, and insects. So then you have the so-called barn finds. If you don't know what a barn find is, barn find, F-I-N-D, it's where people find cars in barns, that have been in there for years. So, but so I don't want to hoard vehicles, so I just wanted rid of it. And, even though it could have probably, we could probably drive it another 100,000 miles. Of course, I maintained it. So whoever gets it is getting a decent vehicle. I kept up. I'd changed the oil generally about every 3,000 miles and, changed the different things. And so it, everything worked and it was in good shape. Except the paint was getting kind of bad. And I don't know what, there might have been a little leaking going on underneath. I'm not exactly sure because I did see some stains in the carport, on the ground. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's gone. It belongs to them, and it may, for all I know, it's already at the auction because that's what, with a vehicle that old, it's going to the auction. It just goes directly to the auction. So, and they auction it off and get whatever money they can out of it, and more power to them. So, but, so I got the Ram 1500 with it's got the 5.7 so-called Hemi V8 HEMI, and it's because of the hemispherical something or other internally. I'm not real sure about that. I've heard that term all my life, Hemi, but and I know it's hemispherical, like half a like a hemisphere is how the something shaped inside. And I guess I should really, since I own one now, I should really know what it means. And I'm sure there's videos that I can watch on YouTube that'll explain that. But so anyway, it's got the 5.7 V8, just naturally aspirated. That's what I wanted. 8-speed automatic transmission. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which that actually works really, really well with my S22 Ultra phone that I got. I don't know, it's been a number of months ago now. The Android Auto, and it's super reliable. As soon as I get in there with my phone, phone in my pocket, the Android Auto is connecting within seconds, and then it just automatically resumes whatever music I've been playing. Let's say it's from Google Music. It just automatically resumes it, and so I'm impressed with that. The Ram trucks, if you've been in a modern Ram truck, they ride really good because they've got like a coil springs in the rear. So they ride like like the big, it reminds me of the great big cars of the past, that like from maybe the 80s and 90s that sort of floated down the road. That's kind of what this reminds me of. So it's really a smooth ride. The other thing about the Ram trucks is that they're very well, they have sound insulated, so they're quite quiet. So there's a power driver's seat, I think, automatic dimming mirror. The other thing that I really like about it is a dual zone climate control. This is the first vehicle I've ever had that has any kind of climate control, as far as automatic. That's impressive because it just, I've got it set on 72, and it just, whatever it needs to maintain 72. Because otherwise, driving down the road, like in the Freightliner, I am constantly, winter, summer, it doesn't really matter. I'm constantly either too warm or too cool. And it's an ongoing battle to try to get the temperature just right. Whereas if you've got an automated system, like an automatic climate control, it just does whatever it needs to, and it just maintains the temperature, which is just fantastic. So I'm happy with that too. It's got like an 8-point-something infotainment screen, and that's impressive. It's very bright, so it you don't have any problem at all seeing it even in direct sunlight. It's really bright and sharp. So I'm happy with that. I got the quad cab versus, there's a quad cab and then a crew cab. Quad cab is still 4 doors, but it's there's not nearly as much leg room in the back seat. But there's enough. And I don't carry people very often anyway. So that's not it made more sense for me to get the quad cab, and then I ended up with a longer bed. I've got like a 6-foot bed versus the so-called crew cab versions. You get this humongous back seat with humongous leg room, but you get a smaller bed. And so for me, it just made sense to go with the quad cab. And because, like I say, I'm not hauling people around, very often. It's very rare that I haul anybody around. So and I've still got a back seat. I've got 4 doors, and so if I want to haul, stick something back there, it's easy. Just, like groceries or whatever. Just it's easy just to put them back there. Open the door and put them in the, whatever. Because there's still a substantial amount of room back there. It's just not as much leg room. So, but people still fit. And have the bigger box on the back as far as the 6-foot bed. So, anyway, that's impressive. The overall, I'm very impressed with it. Really, really pleased with my choice. And one of the reasons I went with, I'm not really brand loyal when it comes to vehicles. I've owned vehicles from every corporation, or as far as the domestic ones. I've had GM vehicles. I had the very first vehicle that I had was a '62 Chrysler that my dad bought me, and it was it was kind of it was a 1962 vehicle, and so it had its problems, and it was kind of wore out, and vehicles in those days didn't last very long. So, but that was my first vehicle, and then after that, I think the next one was a Ford Maverick, which that was kind of didn't like it. Maybe made it to about 100,000 miles, and it was a complete rust bucket by then, and it had its share of problems, certainly. So I've had Chevrolet vehicles, basically that's from General Motors. So I've had a couple of Chevrolet, like older Chevrolets, Chevrolet pickup there for a while, and then a sedan, this so-called full-size sedan, like an '82 Caprice. I had that for, I don't know, for some period of time. So, and then I've had like the Ford pickup that I've had for the last 20 years, and I've had like another Ford pickup, and I had an Isuzu pickup, if you remember those, that I put about 115,000 miles on before I got rid of it. So I've had, and then of course the Toyota that I bought in 2017, the car. So I've had a variety of vehicles, and so I'm not really brand loyal. So my dad's always been big on Ford. So Dad and both younger brothers have kind of, they kind of stick with Fords. But the problem now with the Ford vehicles is the fact that I'm hearing bad things about their quality control lately. Especially since the virus problem. So, in any event, and I think Ram's quality the build quality is great. As far as the way that truck is put together, it's just really solid. Like I say, it's very quiet. It's very, and it seems to, of course, with the 5.7 V8, it's very powerful, and really happy with it. And Ram, for some reason, they're building vehicles, whereas the other manufacturers seem to be struggling a lot more. And so Ram maybe for years and years, for decades, the F-150's been the best-selling vehicle, and I think that's in danger of changing. That is actually in danger of changing. That could, end up swinging to Ram. So, there you go. But Ford may have made some, they may have drank the woke Kool-Aid And that's, you got to be careful about drinking the Kool-Aid, and of course the woke thing. We're facing this woke, it's a woke, think of it as a woke doomsday cult. And that's really what it is. And the basis of it, or, my first encountering, I got sold on it. And that was the, Paul Ehrlich population bomb. He wrote this book back whenever it was, and I believed it. I believed, oh my God, there's the population's increasing, and we're all going to starve to death. It's going to be doomsday, and I really believed that. And that's a dangerous thing to believe, because then you begin to base your decisions. You can base some really important decisions on what you believe. That was a belief. I kind of believed, oh my God, there's this population bomb, and we're all going to starve to death. We're going to die, and the planet will die, and God, all this stuff. And it's garbage. It's a garbage belief, but that's part of the doomsday cult. Now, fortunately, I don't believe that anymore. We're not facing a population bomb. We're facing a big population decline. But it's a doomsday cult. So it's a woke, part of a woke doomsday cult. Or you could also say death cult, but doomsday obviously leads to death. And so a lot of people have drank the Kool-Aid, and they've continued to drink the Kool-Aid, and they believe that, well, we got to get rid of the fossil fuels. And so a few years ago, you had the Greta Thunberg thing, where how dare you, you just look up Greta Thunberg, how dare you? And, if you haven't seen that, most people have probably seen it. Although there's some that haven't. But anyway, she was speaking at Davos and, to the World Economic Forum, and got them all. She's a really good actress as far as being dramatic. But anyway, she and her parents, I think, were exploiting her at that point, because she was like 15 or 16. And so these people, we can't invest in fossil fuels anymore, finding new ones. That's the past. We got to invest in the future. Green energy, solar energy, blah, 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 blah. And so that's what they did. And so that's one of the reasons why the energy prices are going up, is because they stopped exploring. They cut back on it. And some of the oil companies themselves are, shutting down refineries. Oh, well, this isn't the future anymore. The future's green grass, whatever. So, in the meantime, everything relies on, in large part, on diesel fuel and gasoline, so-called fossil fuels. That's the only reason I exist. That's the only reason you exist. Whoever you are, whoever's listening to this, you exist because of inexpensive energy from so-called fossil fuels. All the food that you go to the supermarket or wherever you get your food, wherever you're buying your food from, it was grown with diesel. It was grown with diesel fuel. It was harvested with diesel fuel. It was hauled around with diesel fuel. You take the diesel fuel away, you starve. Period. So this idea that, we're going to stop this and not, we're going to cut back our lifestyle or whatever. It's not just a matter of cutting back your lifestyle. You're going to starve. And so there's going to be people, I think people are probably waking up from the doomsday cult at this point. At least some of them are. And some of them are still true believers. They're still drinking the Kool-Aid, but some people are waking up from it, but it's too late now. So you're going to have people that are actually going to be starving as a result of this. Look at Sri Lanka. It's already happening. It's already happening. Mass hysteria is a dangerous thing, and this is basically mass hysteria. But it's part of a woke doomsday cult. And like I said, I was part of it initially. I really did believe that, you go back 30 years, I really did believe that there's this population bomb, and we were all gonna end up just suffering some sort of horrible future because there'd be people dying and a shortage of everything and whatever. Well, yeah, you can end up with that if you end up with mass hysteria. And people stop producing energy because of the mass hysteria. You can't use nitrogen to farm with. Well, how do you think your food grows? So and it's basically it's the woke doomsday cult attack, and you want your zombies, there you go, there they are. Wake up. Like I say, the reason we exist is because of cheap energy. That's the reason we have a society. That's the reason we have that it's able to function. Take that away, ain't going to work. You're going to starve. There's no future. So it's in the meantime, there will be people starving. There already are, and I think there's going to be more of them. And we're all guilty. I consider myself guilty for, because there was a period of time where I was promoting the idea just by talking to people, because I was a true believer. I promoted the idea of the population bomb for probably a number of years. I really did believe that. So whatever I suffer as a result of the general mass hysteria that's going on, I deserve it. Sorry. Because I helped promote it, and but it is a woke that was the start of the woke doomsday cult. That it's kind of pervaded every level of society. It's gotten, of course, it's infected the schools. So you could think of me going around talking about doomsday, the doomsday, population bomb. At the same time, I'm decrying the fact that the school system screwed up, So it's like I've got the infection, and I'm decrying the fact that people are becoming infected. Worse, with some maybe a worse version of whatever the mind virus is, and it's basically like a mind virus. And again, this can't be overemphasized. The way the human mind works, it's a system. It works on a system of faith. We worship whatever we give our attention to. And if there's a right thing that we can worship and basically kind of all get along, and if we've got the right narrative, and you could say, well, Christianity's a pretty good version of it. It's not perfect, but it's a good version of an overarching narrative for a society to have. Because that's how what Western society, our society, was founded on, and it's worked pretty well. It's not perfect, but it's worked pretty well. Of course, it's always got these people attacking it, but you take that away, And then people will, just splinter off into all kinds of different cults. So you have this woke doomsday cult that that's kind of dominated, and then you got people that are worshiping just all kinds of different things. And so, but the way our minds work, we must worship things. Whatever we give our attention to, we're worshiping. The way our minds work, the world is way too complicated for us to know all the details. So the mind comes up with functional models of reality, and we place our faith into the reality. And so and we end up making decisions based on the things that we really do believe. And it's not a matter of what do I say I believe. It's it's more reflected in what's my behavior. What is my actual behavior? I can say that I believe in this and believe in that all day long, but it comes down to brass tacks with the behavior. So anyway, I think I'm going to be wrapping this up. I'm meeting a friend for lunch. So I'm going to kind of need to be getting around a little bit. So I think I'm going to bring this to a close. So hope everyone has had a great week. Hope you have a great weekend coming up. And I will catch you later.
Remember, Trucker Tom is like Visa. He's everywhere you want to be.
Product reviews, restaurant reviews, photos, opinions, and more. Visit Trucker Tom's website at www.truckerphoto.com. You've been listening to Trucker Tom's podcast, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. All you have to do is send us an email to tom@truckerphoto.com.